And then in additive manufacturing, Alexander Roser and Mason Mesmer. And first time this team has ever competed, Landon McPeak and Meredith Barrett are national qualifiers in cybersecurity. In diesel equipment technology, national qualifier, Alex Johnson. State champion in mousetrap vehicle, senior division, Hazard Iltz. In CNC 3-axis milling programmer, national qualifier, William Hatfield. CNC 2-axis turning programmer, national qualifier, Sven Matthiesen. And it doesn't look like he's here tonight, but also in a national qualifier in sheet metal is Richard Mateo.
Teachers want to go up too? You're welcome to. It's your call. We'll need to probably use 2 rows in some capacity. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Look at me. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, don't move, because families will want to get photos if they haven't yet. Here you go.
Good job, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah.
The fun's about to start. Where
I
are they
guess
going?
I guess we're all going home.
Turn now, follow.
Just a quick shout out. I just want to thank all those young ladies and gentlemen for participating. That's wonderful that they're getting involved in things that are, so many times we look at sports as the only thing, and it's wonderful to see kids getting involved in other activities that are going to improve their lives and the lives of others.
And I would interject that if you haven't ever been to the Skills USA contest, go. It's amazing. And it's right here in Grand Island.
Okay, item number 6, request to address the board. We do not have any. Okay. On item number 7, information items, 7.1, district wellness. As part of the triennial food service assessment, a review of the district wellness policy is required. The district wellness team and parent advisory council has provided input on the review of policy and the findings that will be presented. Dr. Dexter.
Thank you. And we have a district wellness policy that was officially adopted in 2005, and then it's gone through several revisions. And then in 2013, we were required to have a very specific policy. And so the policy we have, which is 7190, it is rather lengthy, but it is a template provided by the Nebraska Department of Education, which we made our own by being specific about what we do. But the triennial assessment is every 3 years. People come out from food services, NDE. I think that 3 years ago, we had someone from the federal department of food services came out, very impressed with our kitchen, our nutrition services, and then they review our policy and our action plans. And so I just wanted to make you aware of the why. We have to have the policy and action plans, nutrition education, all spelled out. If we don't, then we will lose our federal funding for lunches. And we rely on that very, very, very much in Grand Island Public Schools. So we have an awesome wellness team. We have representatives from each building, and then Central District Health Department, CHI are also partners. The Nebraska Extension Office is a wonderful partner. They provide education resources at our elementary schools. So just a great group, and they've done a lot of work. And you can go to the departments, and you can go to student services, health and wellness, and you can find other great information. Healthy celebrations and snacks. And when we presented to the parent council, and it was just a real treat for me because when we first implemented it, people weren't happy with it. You're taking away our cupcakes and our celebrations, and so much of our celebrations, especially in Nebraska, are around food. And so taking that away was not taken lightly. And so when we presented to the parent council, their questions were, we like the policy, we just think that it needs to be more strictly enforced so that all schools are following the policy, so we took that to heart. And then to really send the message as to the why. And, you know, I kind of hesitate that, well, we have to do it because the feds make us do it or we lose our funding. But that's the bottom line. To be able to keep our free and reduced lunches and our nutrition services, we need the policy and we need to follow the healthy guidelines. So we also have healthy celebrations and snacks on the website. It just gives parents an idea of what is healthy, where you can buy them. We had a request from our district team that said, well, because so much of the clubs in different places, they go to Sam's. Could we have a Sam's list of healthy snacks? And so our nutrition services person, Lauren Rathman, is working on putting that together for staff, which would make that easier. But you can find all the information on this on the website. And then there's also a Google site and it's access through the nutrition services page. You can see the policy, the triennial assessment, and the wellness policy all right there. And then you have healthy dairy snacks, fruits and vegetables, healthy grains, and then other ideas besides food for celebrations. And another reason we partner with Central District Health Department, we've had, at least 3 different grants. Hall County is one of the highest counties in Nebraska and the United States for obesity. And so we've been working with CDHD to try to educate families on healthy habits. We have kids in middle school on cholesterol medicine. We have a high rate of diabetics. So it is an issue in our student population. So all of this is focused around getting kids healthy and keeping them healthy and working with the families to do so. So then we have every building has to have an action plan. And so you'll see our action plans here, and we gather together in September and put the action plans together, and you can go by school, and we cover nutrition for students, for staff, physical activity, students and staff, and mental health, students and staff, and then nutrition education. And we ask that they have at least 2 activities per goal. And so you can go through those, and those are evaluated by the triennial assessment as well. And then the triennial assessment, you can go through and see what the assessment looks like, the areas of strength, and it goes on through several different stages. But if you want to see what we're evaluated on, the triennial assessment is there. The group from the federal department, USDA, will come out in June and meet with our nutrition services. So policy committee had some good discussion. Any questions that I didn't answer?
Don't believe so.
So that's information and action for next month. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dexter. Okay, item number 7.2, discuss, consider, and take all action necessary to the student transportation contract for fiscal year 2023-24. Dr. Ken Schroeder.
Howdy, folks. Grand Island Public Schools enjoys a strong working relationship with Holiday Express, which provides student transportation services for the school district. The 5-year contract Grand Island Public Schools has with Holiday Express allows for a 4% increase to cover increased operating expenses from year to year. The proposed transportation schedule and corresponding payment schedule for the 23-24 school year was presented to the Facilities and Finance Committee. It is being presented to the whole board tonight as an information item and will be presented to the board for consideration and approval at the regular June board meeting. Do you have any questions that I can answer for you right now?
Thank you, Dr. Schroeder. Item number 7.3, interim superintendent evaluation. During the first year of employment, statute requires that the superintendent be evaluated twice. This interim superintendent evaluation provided by NASB will provide a tool to do the first of these evaluations for an interim superintendent. Mr. Fisher.
So as the governance committee has reviewed that process that has to be in place in terms of the first year of employment for superintendent, and knowing that we needed to do an evaluation, and also with work that was already being done around the idea of changing the instrument that was being used for superintendent evaluation, the group decided that really the best course of action would probably be to use the tool that the School Boards Association already had in place for interim superintendents to do the first evaluation with. And then the governance committee will continue work around putting a permanent instrument in place that would be used for a second evaluation that would be done probably in November, December of this year. And then I guess the other part of what the governance committee has been working towards is changing when the superintendent evaluation is annually done. It has been done in the past in January, which is very challenging for new board members in particular, because you're just coming on the board and all of a sudden you're asked to evaluate an employee, really the only employee that you're asked to evaluate, based on no experience with that employee. So, and then I think also hiring practices for superintendents have shifted to where more of that superintendent hiring process is done much earlier. Used to be kind of a March, April hiring timeline for superintendents. Now it's much more of a fall into January and February. So I think it aligns better with that. So that's really what's being done here. This is, at this point, an information item. And the intent would be to bring it back in June as an action item. It would then be acted on, put in place, and then the evaluation schedule would have the board then doing an evaluation in July. And I think actually Mrs. Albers probably could report a little bit. She had contacted Marcia Herring at the School Boards Association to kind of get a sense for how that would be done. And actually, the School Boards Association will do the compiling of information when the board completes the evaluation. You wanted to share anything, Lisa?
So Marcia and I had a short conversation, and it sounds like she'll send out a link to every board member, and then we'll fill the evaluation out. All the results will go back to NASB. They will compile the results. They'll get a report, and then they'll send it to Hank, and then they will then discuss. Dave and Hank will discuss the report with Mr. Fisher. And we're going to use the instrument for the most part as it's written. Nobody really had any changes that they wanted. But if anything in the interim comes up and you want to discuss it, just let somebody on governance know.
Does anybody have any questions for either Mr. Fisher or Ms. Albers? All right, thank you. We'll go on to item number 7.4, construction update. Mr. Petch.
Thanks, President McFarland. So not a lot of different information other than the high school project. We're working on what is above ceiling work with all the HVAC, electrical, and fire sprinklers. So that's ongoing. We're basically getting in the starting blocks and ready to, once school's out, the 25th, we'll blow into the areas that are being occupied right now and commence work. Actually, we've already started some pre-work in the cafeteria, just so we can have a head start on summer, so that we can get the areas completed before school starts. Same story with the Connecticut HVAC project and the Walnut Middle School Security Vestibules project. So once school's out, the 25th is go time. So with that, that's all I got. I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions, Mr. Petch? All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to skip item number 7.5, the student representative report. Mr. Cloutier had some other engagements, so we'll move to item number 7.6, superintendent report. Mr. Fisher.
Okay, one of the things that I wanted to share just a little bit about, and actually I'd intended to do this last month and skipped over it, but the National School Board Convention that was held back in early March, the end of February, early March. We had several board members attend that along with myself, and I just wanted to give those that attended the opportunity to share some insight from that conference, some of the things that maybe they saw on a national level that were areas of concern or areas of emphasis. And so I would give you guys a chance to talk about the things that maybe you saw and encountered, and then I would follow that up with anything that you didn't cover. I'm guessing you'll touch on most of the really important things, because I know Josh took lots of notes.
Mr. Sykes.
I did take lots of notes, and there was one area that in stepping into both that conference and wanting to step into the role on the board, everybody nationwide is looking at staffing issues and what they can do to not just recruit new staff, but maybe more importantly, retain the staff that they have. And there was a lot of, I think there were 3 different breakouts that I attended that really took some creative looks at how you can use your organization's culture as a retention tool. One of the districts identified that the culture that they created was their best retention tool, and then obviously thinking outside the box on creatively attracting new young talent, how to establish those relationships with both universities, how to look at recruiting from what would be the term that I would use? looking at recruiting and evaluating the needs of teachers from a broader business vantage point, and not just from a traditional we're just recruiting teachers. There was a gentleman from Emporia State University had done some extensive research on how job satisfaction amongst teachers in the state of Kansas was impacting the retention and the way that they analyzed that data. Regular industry leaders were like, we've been doing this for years, and it was the first time it had been done in the education setting. And he had some interesting research finding, and there was a lot of pretty good stuff I felt like that could be applicable to Grand Island Public Schools when it came to that area of teacher recruitment and retention. That was the biggest piece for me.
And you've actually had some contact, as have I, with that gentleman from Emporia State.
Yeah, he was very interested in including us in his early getting his foot in the door in the state of Nebraska, and knowing that we're just down the road from Emporia, Kansas, and he was very interested in engaging with Grand Island Public Schools with utilizing his research tools and his data analytics to help us with retention. So, yeah.
Mr. Garcia Mendez?
Yeah, I would say, just to echo similar sentiments that Mr. Sykes just repeated, there's a lot of focus of like how to retain teachers. I attended some of them. It's like, how do we retain our teachers of color, teachers who, as we're seeing demographic shifts in our nation, just as we see them here in Grand Island, how do we recruit and retain those teachers? And so I gained some insight in that, but I think it was also just really eye-opening that the struggles locally are the struggles of every other public education system in this country, specifically the funding of public schools. Every single school, I mean, I think it's just a similar story, and how we need to be really strong supporters of our public schools. I think it's fair to critique our public schools, but in a standpoint that we want to improve them and love them, and really be part of the solution. And I felt that sentiment from a lot of board members that I met at that conference. And it was really great just to bond with Mr. Sykes, with Katie, with Joshua here, Mr. Hawley, who isn't here, but also Mr. Fisher, and your wife. She's awesome. But yeah, I think it was just a great experience for all of us to just really be together and really just build trust and build that relationship, because at the end of the day, we might not all agree on similar things, but I think that's the beauty of serving in public service, is that you don't create solutions without having conflict, or just don't be afraid to really get in the weeds of things, because that's the beauty of serving in public office. So yeah, I really enjoyed my time there, and then also getting to get to know other board members from different parts of the nation. Some of them recently elected, some of them just being there for 10 plus years and just learning from their perspective. And I think it was just a beautiful experience that everyone public education focused school board member was there. But yeah, I haven't had the chance to look at all my notes. It's on the little iPad I have, but it's a lot of notes to look through. But yeah.
It was a tremendous growth experience for Eric, because he now knows who John Wayne is. That's true. So, along with the other things that he shared, he also knows that now. So, other than the staffing piece, and certainly that was very front and center, and as Josh said, lots of the sessions, and I think between the three of us here and the two that aren't here tonight, we went to probably at least a dozen different sessions on staffing, because that is such a critical issue. Now, other than staffing, the scariest piece that I heard was the last keynote speaker talking about artificial intelligence. And it was actually the gentleman who had invented Siri, the Siri that you have if you have an Apple phone. He invented and developed it with his group, and then they sold it to Apple. And so he's obviously an insider in the whole artificial intelligence. And I think the scariest comment he made was that in the last 5 to 10 years, he's seen development in that area that he didn't expect to see in his lifetime. And so how fast things are moving, and some of the things that he talked about that currently can be done with artificial intelligence. It's pretty wild. Obviously, there's lots of great opportunities out there to do a lot of amazing things, and actually saw a really neat presentation when I went through the capstones for our science academy, or our health sciences academy, dealing with using artificial intelligence as to enhance surgeries and diagnosis and reading X-rays. That basically, with the artificial intelligence, they could feed thousands of X-rays in for them to learn and understand, certainly much more than any human would ever be able to, and then be able to then look at X-rays and diagnose based on what they had been able to. So it was kind of neat. We had that experience where we learned about it, and then to see one of our students talking about it and how it was being used in an area that they were studying. So a lot of really good information. And I think, like Eric said, I think one of the really great things about those conferences is that chance to grow with the people that you travel with, but then also to grow through, exchanging ideas with people that are outside the state of Nebraska. And so overall, I think a very good experience for everyone that was involved. A couple other things just to mention real quick. After our facilities meeting that we had a few weeks back, we started having some discussion, and we talked in our small group around the idea of maybe using teacher housing as a retention and recruitment tool. As we started looking at that, several different things have come up. I think there's some real interest amongst some of the property owners and builders in the community, maybe partnering with us if we would decide to pursue that. I think one of the ideas, certainly as a starting place, maybe was more along the lines of let's find an existing property manager that has properties that maybe they would be willing to put into a block or something that we could offer, and use that as a pilot to see where that might take us. So we've had some good dialogue around that idea. Certainly there's lots of work to be done still. Mr. Petch and I are going to meet with one of those people tomorrow morning, and have a little more conversation around that. So that's moving along. Wanted to mention the Air Force Junior ROTC program. I had the opportunity to go out to their awards program Saturday night and their military ball. Certainly a neat event. But it also brought home the fact that, we've been unable to come up with an officer to lead that program as we go forward. So, again, just to make sure that you're all in the loop knowing that. And we're continuing to look, and we're hopeful. Mr. Gilbertson and I had some really good conversation that night around, even if we don't find someone to do that this year, that's something that I think we want to continue to seek that person and hopefully be able to put that in place. Because, as you see the opportunity that those kids have through that program, and we're serving almost 100 of our students in that, and really just the structure and the things that the life skills that they are gaining through that program, I think it really has a lot of value for us. So hopefully we can get that back on track. Graduation Sunday, I think a good share of you are going to be involved in that. 1:30, meet in the Bosselman Conference area at the Heartland Event Center. Any questions about that? Everyone got your? Yeah.
We're meeting in the casino?
We'll meet in the casino and transition to the Bosselman Conference Center. Other than that, just real quick mention, we've been spending considerable time, and I guess I want to recognize a couple of the people that we have here that have been involved. You know, Ms. Carter has come in and worked with our elementary principals and really kind of represented teacher perspective as we walked through that elementary staffing piece. And then Dr. Kohler has really led a lot of the process. She's jumped into her HR job ahead of time and really helped to think through some of the different ways that we might be able to put a staffing plan together to be able to take care of the 15 or 16 vacant, unfilled elementary teaching positions that we have. And so I think we're at a point, we've met with the group again this morning. I think we're at a point, we have a plan. We're in the process of sharing information out to the people that are going to be impacted by it. And then probably in the next few days, we'll have a shared information piece that will go out to our staff. So other than that, one other thing I did want to mention, our skills program for our elementary students, we are going to be moving them from Dodge, where they have been for the last 12 years, I think. They are going to be relocated to one of the modulars that we have that are at Lincoln Elementary. And so I think there's some good opportunity to actually get some separation. We'd been looking at how could we take some of the space that we had at Dodge and isolate students a little more there, and ultimately decided that the best option was probably going to be to move them to an area where we already had some separation, and so that will be taking place. I think that announcement actually went out to the full staff. We'd made announcements to the staff at both the schools, and I think all of the parents of the students that will be impacted by that have been contacted, and so now announcement was made to the full staff. And so, questions about anything?
Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Okay, now on to action items. Item number 8.1, information technology. Purchasing replacement equipment will continue to provide high-quality infrastructure to reduce downtime, increase security, and maintain manufacturing support on critical production items. Mr. Gearhart.
You just said it all. Good evening. This is for that storage network device that we talked about that's aging, and then the 3-server purchase. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Gearhart? Okay. I would entertain a motion to recommend approve the purchase of the Dell Unity Storage Platform and Dell R750 servers as presented.
I'd like to recommend to approve the purchase of the Dell Unity Storage Platform, Dell R750 servers as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Garcia Mendez. Discussion. Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gearhart. Item number 8.2, Student Parent Handbook revisions for 2023-24. Dr. Dexter will present those revisions.
Right, and I presented last month mostly just minor edit updates, some policy updates. We updated the supply list and updated the student fees. And then National Honor Society membership, we had to specifically include that in the handbook. So if you have questions.
Any questions? No questions? Seeing none, I would entertain A motion to recommend and approve the 2023-24 Student Parent Handbook.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend and approve the 2023-2024 Student Parent Handbook.
Seconded by Ms. Albers. Discussion. Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. Motion passes. Item number 8.3, interim superintendent evaluation.
I should have studied the agenda closer before. I talked about it on the information side. Actually, we put it on as both information and action. Feeling that there probably weren't too many questions around it, we felt like the board would probably be ready to act on this, and that then gives us a little more time to get it in front of it. It actually has to be submitted to the Department of Education before we can use the instrument. So as long as the board is ready to act on this, we can go ahead and act on it. We probably would have enough time if we didn't act on it until June, but it's on here to act, so I would encourage you to, unless you have an issue with it, to go ahead and get it approved so we can get it off to NDE.
I would at this time accept a motion to recommend to approve the interim superintendent evaluation.
I'd like to make a motion that recommend to approve the interim superintendent evaluation.
Second. Ms. Albers? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Discussion. Just a brief statement. All the board members have seen the actual form, and since the governance committee had no issues with it, I don't really see any reason to beat a dead horse. So, any other comments? Okay. All right. We will proceed to a vote. Motion passes. Item 8.4, geometry adoption. We have Dr. Palmer and is Dr. Berman coming tonight? Or?
I'm so sorry I'm representing her tonight, so I know I'm not as exciting as her, as passionate as her, but hopefully we're just here to approve the pilot for geometry. And I think you still have that needs analysis. Nothing has changed since then, so I will answer any questions if there are any.
Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend and approve the geometry you gave it to me, thanks, Hank. Adoption as presented.
We have a second. Eric? Thank you. Discussion. Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. Motion passes. Thank you very much, Dr. Palmer. Algebra 2 pilot. In order to meet college and career readiness benchmarks and support Objective 2.2 of the On Track to Thrive in 2025 strategic plan, students would benefit from access to high-quality instructional materials that focus on essential content and provide a balance. Dr. Palmer, again.
Yes, I'm here to represent Dr. Berman tonight in the event that you have any questions.
Seeing none, I would accept a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend and approve the Algebra 2 pilot as presented.
Second by Eric. Discussion. Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. Motion passes. Thank you very much, Dr. Palmer. Item number 9, reports. 9.1, a monthly report to the board and community on the major items discussed and under consideration by the Grand Island Public Schools Foundation. Ms. Juergens.
The foundation will host a press conference announcing the totals of the 20th annual Add It Up to Opportunity staff and board campaign on Tuesday, May 15th at 4:30 p.m. at the Bill Marshall Conference Room, Memorial Stadium, Jack Martin Field. The Monday, May 15th. No, you're right. That would be Monday, May 15th. You're absolutely correct. Thank you. The foundation has released the nomination forms for the 2023 Teacher of the Year Awards. That's Teacher, Staff Member, Administrator of the Year Forms are available online only with a deadline of May 20th. The corporate sponsor of the program is First National Bank of Omaha. The foundation opens applications for the Dr. Eugene Miller Legacy Scholarship April 15th. This program is designed as a scholarship for GIPS staff members who are pursuing a graduate degree. Applications are online and close on May 31st. The fund will support up to a $1,000 award annually. The foundation participated in Go Big Give on May 4th, giving supporters the opportunity to give to the foundation or the stadium project. And that completes the foundation report for this month. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jurgens. Do we have, anybody have any questions for Ms. Jurgens? Seeing none. Okay, notification of upcoming meetings. Our next regular scheduled board meeting is for Thursday, June 8, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. At this moment,
We're on upcoming meetings, and those of you that were in small group, after we had our agenda review, I had a chance to discuss this with you. Those of you that weren't in that small group that was after that, we talked about having a board retreat, and the date that was tossed out there was July 14th. That's a Friday. Probably looking at a Friday afternoon, lunch into the afternoon type retreat. So again, if you would just kind of check your calendars around that and see, trying to figure out if that would be something that we could get on the calendar to have that for an event for this summer for the board.
wonderful.
Okay?
Thank you. Sorry I jumped the gun there.
That's fine.
All righty. It is now 6:22, and I call this meeting adjourned.